Time for business. Yuka's joined us here in the studio. Yuka's been looking at what 4 years of war have done to the economy of Ukraine.
Well, Mark, Ukraine's GDP shrank 30% in the first year of war, and it's still less than 80% of its pre-invasion size. With Russia continuing to bomb energy infrastructure in the country, millions are spending the winter in the dark and cold. Luke Schrager takes a closer look at the economic damage Ukraine has suffered as estimated costs of reconstruction keep rising.
As Ukraine moves into its fifth year of war with Russia, its people are suffering their coldest winter in decades, with some facing electricity disruptions for up to 18 hours a day.
The heating system in the houses started to shut down, the houses started to freeze, the sewage system started to freeze, the heating system started to break, where the water remained in the pipes and they started to burst.
A World Bank report has now put the cost of Ukrainian reconstruction at around $588 billion, a 21% jump from last year, with housing, transport and energy infrastructure bearing the brunt of the damage from Russian attacks. Industry has also struggled with energy supply issues as companies cut output and blackouts suppress consumer demand. By the end of last year, Ukraine's public debt stood at over 100% of its GDP, with Kyiv seeking lifelines from its foreign partners.
Right now, there is an important decision, 90 billion euros in support for Ukraine over 2 years. This is a real financial guarantee of our security, and it is important for us to receive a clear date for joining the EU.
For Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's future lies with Europe. The EU has sent over 200 billion euros in aid since 2022. And while the US has given $115 billion, Donald Trump has partially suspended arms deliveries and is pushing Brussels to pick up the tab.
Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz is set to start his 2-day visit to China.
Well, it's his first visit to the Asian country since he took office last year. Now, Merz is the latest Western leader to travel there after Canada's Mark Carney and Britain's Keir Starmer in January. A host of others, including French President Emmanuel Macron, have also visited China in recent months. Now, not so long ago, Western nations were talking about de-risking to reduce their dependence on China. Now they seem to be also de-risking from the United States, that is increasingly looking like an unreliable partner. The German Chancellor said that the theme of his trip would be competition and the right balance of cooperation, as a powerful business lobby warned about what they saw as unfair practices by China as it grows its influence in global trade. Last week, Merz cautioned that Germany should have no illusions when engaging with Beijing.
Today, China is deliberately distancing itself from the United States and asserting its claim to define a new multilateral order according to its own rules. Freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and press freedom have no place in this understanding. Efforts to promote a universal commitment to human rights are rejected there as interference in internal affairs.
Indeed, even as it seeks to position itself as the defender of free trade amid Donald Trump's trade war against the rest of the world, China has been accused of economic coercion using its dominance in areas such as rare earths mining. In the face of slow domestic consumption and overproduction, a flood of cheap Chinese goods have found its way to other markets like Europe. Germany is in a particularly tight spot. Beijing overtook the US last year as Berlin's top trading partner, but Germany's deficit in bilateral trade widened to a record 90 billion euros. Its all-important auto sector has been squeezed by increasing competition from Chinese rivals both at home and away. A new study released by the German Economic Institute shows German car exports to China plunged by around a third in 2025, with the total value less than half of what it was 3 years ago. So, accompanied by a large business delegation, Chancellor Merz is seeking strategic partners with China, but being careful.
Donald Trump's new tariffs have taken effect today after his earlier ones were struck down by the US Supreme Court.
Well, Mark, after US justices deemed the so-called Liberation Day tariffs illegal last Friday, the Trump administration immediately announced a new 10% global duty using another piece of legislation. Although the president then increased the rate to 15%, it seems that the lower figure has now been applied. The repeal of the earlier duties has opened a potential floodgate of US companies seeking a refund. Delivery firm FedEx is one of the first major corporations to sue the government over this. Brian Quinn has more.
Special delivery for the U.S. government, court papers. On Monday, FedEx sued the Trump administration for a full refund of illegally collected tariffs.
FedEx has taken the necessary action to protect the company's rights as an importer of record, to seek duty refunds from U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
The American logistics giant hasn't put a dollar figure on the refund it's seeking. In September, though, it estimated its U.S. tariff costs for the 2025 fiscal year at $1 billion. 1977's International Emergency Economic Powers Act had been the underpinning of Trump's so-called reciprocal tariffs. The Supreme Court's ruling last week that it cannot be used for tariffs means that more than $175 billion in collected revenues could be subject to refunds. Tariffs are import taxes paid by the domestic companies that receive foreign goods, resulting in a wholesale cost increase that is often passed on to consumers. One conservative think tank estimates that Trump's tariffs likely amounted to a $1,000 tax increase on each American household in 2025. Administration officials have expressed their doubt that American companies or households will ever see a refund on Trump's now officially illegal tariffs. Hundreds of firms, though, filed lawsuits before the Supreme Court's decision was handed down to get in line for potential restitution. Meanwhile, a group of 22 Democratic senators have put forward a bill that would require the government to refund, with interest, all revenue collected from the tariffs within 180 days.
Brian going with that report, and that's it from the business desk.
Yuka, as always, thank you very much indeed. Yuka, back with more business throughout the evening. Great to see you as always.